Welcome to Cover Talk. Tonight we're taking a closer look at the world behind my latest single, Take It Slow Hun. Some stories live in the music, others hide in the images. Hi everybody. So I have been listening to this song a lot lately, actually for a very long time, and I keep coming back to the same feeling that I had when I first wrote it and first recorded it. And I was so excited to be able to recreate a new cover for the new feeling and the new update that the song received and that I captured, and that was captured through the musicians and the singers in which I had added to the song. So I was really excited to put together this new cover, but I didn't initially know what I would be covering, but I was still excited. So what actually came first was the music video, and from that, when I first began doing the music video, I decided I would kind of capture a theme from a recording from the filming. And that's what I did. I captured something that I felt really spoke to the feeling of the song, the vibe, the loneliness. And that's the cover that we have. Now, initially, I was thinking of capturing it in color, but I don't know, for some reason, the coloring of it it didn't pop. I mean, it looked great. The color shot looked great, but it did not truly speak enough to the song. Because sometimes it's all about color, right? You know, a dress, a suit, you can have it in one color, but when you have a specific event to go to, even though the design looks great, the color does not match exactly what it is that you're going for. Now, if you have that suit or that dress in another color, then it can completely work for the event in which you are going to. And so that is essentially what the first idea or the first design, the first coloring, the first hues of the cover, that's what it was like for me. And so I messed around with different shades, different ideas, different hues that could go essentially on top of the cover. Not really an overlay, because it's not an overlay, but it's just essentially, turning down the lights on the coloring. And so that's what I did. And it spoke to me, and it said, because initially that wasn't really what I was thinking. Hey, this is what I want to go for. This is the coloring. It was just more of just playing with it. And I think that's what a lot of creatives do sometimes. Sometimes you don't go into a project with the idea that this is what it's going to be. Sometimes you do, but sometimes even when you do go into a project with that idea, it changes. And so in this case, I did not go into it with an idea. I just went into it with a feeling. And that's what was captured as I played around. And so we got into that sort of black and white. And then once you get into the black and white, then you're trying to decide, should it be really dark? Should it be black, like a blackish gray, sort of an ash gray? And of course, I wanted to be able to be viewed somewhat. So I didn't want it to be too dark. And And that's what we ended up with. And I'm very, very pleased with it. And in looking at the cover, I also found it humorous how, I had sort of harkened back to an era sort of gone by. But, you do have a lot of artists who do try to tap into the spirit of that time, which is the 70s. And of course, the entirety of my album kind of taps into that era. I was very inspired by that era when putting the album together. I knew, and this is one of those moments where I went into the project knowing what it was that I wanted the album to sound like. Of course, you never really know exactly what it's going to sound like, because as you're recording or you're writing, you have different inspirations that will hit and shift where you're trying to go. It's almost essentially like the album wrote itself in its own way, especially with collaborations and whatnot. And this album was a collaborative effort once we went beyond the writing. And that's essentially what happened, where the album kind of became its own thing, and that's how the cover carried on. It became its own thing. It told its own story, even though I got this clip from a screen drop from the filming of the video. It still sort of told its own story, kind of wrote its own narrative, and that's how we ended up with that. And it just kind of spoke to that time from the 70s, where I was inspired, or not necessarily inspired. I was not inspired by these particular artists, but you've got Bob Dylan, Bruce Springsteen, Tom Waits, Leonard Cohen. And while I was not directly inspired by these artists, kind of looking at their covers, I just found it very interesting that I was able to sort of tap into the spirit of that time, and maybe even of their ideas of what they wanted the cover art to be. Or maybe they didn't take it very seriously at all, I don't know. But, so if you look at those covers, it kind of, you get that vibe of what I was going for, or what I ended up coming towards. And I thought that was just very interesting, because it was kind of, for me, as if the universe, the gods were saying, you're headed in the right direction. This is the right fit, or maybe they just spoke to the cover art itself, and the cover art had its own sort of, this is what I'm going to do, and this is what I'm telling you you're going to do. This is what I'm going to stick into your mind, and that you're going to love. And I did. I love it. I fell in love with it, and I can't stop looking at it. I don't know, it just, when I listen to the song, I see the cover. When I look at the cover, I hear the song, and for me, it just all sorts of fits. It all sort of fits. It all fits. And, And then you have the text. Now, that's usually the fonts. That's a whole other thing that it comes to when you're trying to decide what font speaks to the cover art, to the image in which lays before it. And for me, since the inception of putting this song together, which was actually the first song that I wrote for the album, I knew it was going to have the 70s vibe. So of course I wanted the fonts to match kind of the vibes and the feeling in which I initially started with, which was big bold letters and the color orange. For me, I don't know, when I think about the 70s, I think of the color orange. And it's a very specific color. It's not bright orange, you know. It's not like the cover or the color of the fruit orange, but rather it's more of a subdued orange, almost a calming kind of an orange, you know, something you would have seen when you were a child on some kids program. In a way, it's almost a boring shade of orange. But I like that. And I wanted that. And so that's what I went with. So, thanks for coming. Thanks for listening. And I hope you're listening to my new track, Take It Slow Han, which is out now. And look forward to the dropping of the lyrical visualizer put together by me this Friday. I hope you have a great night. Sleep well. Take your gummies if you're having a hard time falling asleep. And we will speak soon.